Welcome to Nasdaq TradeTalks. I'm your host, Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me for this segment, we have Hector McNeil, founder and co-CEO of HANetf. We're here to discuss getting crypto exposure in Europe via an exchange-traded product. It is great to have you with us, Hector. Welcome to Trade Talks, and let's talk about the growing demand for levered crypto exposure in Europe. What can you tell us about the environment?
Yeah, I think there is because we were pretty much way before the US when it came to crypto ETPs generally. But what's really interesting is the market's missing leveraged crypto ETPs. So I think Nasdaq Stockholm being one of the premier marketplaces of crypto. In fact, it was the first ever product XBT in the world was listed in Nasdaq Stockholm. So I think we're following that up with the first ever crypto leverage products onto Nasdaq Stockholm. So I really think it's going to be pushing that button on being first, both from our products and for the exchange itself, which I think is pretty exciting.
Tell us, Hector, how do investors typically use these products?
So they are more short-term and more tactical. So obviously what's really interesting about the leverage sector in the crypto market is how volatile the market is. So there are lots of short-term trading opportunities, both on the long and the short side. I mean, we've seen, since Trump's come in, whether that's announcing on the strategic reserve or the expectation that he was going to be very pro crypto, that all of a sudden you saw this excess demand, and then you saw it come off a little bit, when there was a little bit of a pullback. And those sorts of market opportunities are great for trading tactically because you obviously amplify your returns by 2 times. So, without putting up more capital. So, if the market moves by 5%, you're going to get a 10% return. So so they're almost ideal for that sort of tactical trading basis.
How does the regulatory landscape for crypto ETPs differ in Euro versus the US?
I'd say we're probably a little bit more benign than the US. I mean, I used to own a business called Boost, which was sort of like the equivalent of Direction and ProShares in Europe, very focused on short and leveraged. And I mean, they are classed as complex instruments in Europe, which means they've got a bit of a higher bar, from a regulatory perspective. But retail can still trade them as long as they can understand the risks and the returns, and also be able to stomach the returns as well. The potential for extra losses. So so at the broker level, when the retail investor goes onto their broker, whether it's a Nordnet or a Avanza, the big sort of Nordic online platforms, they'll have to complete a process which will put them into that complex bracket. But once they're set up on that, they can pretty much do what they want. And there's whether it's equities, bonds, commodities, whatever, that there's a well-worn track when it comes to the short leverage market. So we're pretty strong from that basis.
And to your point earlier, Nasdaq Stockholm was the first one that came to offering crypto ETPs.
It was.
What's
Yeah.
the role of ETFs and ETPs in bridging traditional finance with digital assets?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I always think that it's hilarious that the TradFi world is what's really established the DeFi world. When it comes to crypto adoption, I think that's just the power of ETFs to give market access. That's really what it's all about. Everybody can keep their holdings in one account. Whether that's a Schwab account or a Nordnet or a Saxo, whatever. They can have their equities, their bonds, their commodities, their crypto all in their single portfolio. They don't have to worry about keys. They don't have to worry about counterparty risk with exchanges. They've got that sort of full level. So I think it just creates that sort of one marketplace for all asset classes, which is the real sweet spot. And also it's an e-commerce story as well. You get that Amazon Prime gratification that the probably the more younger investor who's more into the crypto world, will actually resonate quite well with them. And obviously adding this extra leverage factor just gives that potential for even more trading, on a tactical basis, which I think is pretty cool, I think.
Yep. All right. Appreciate the insight as always, Hector. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq.